time for the moment of truth. Back in Salesforce, I'm going to create a new case. It's always a good idea to also test out scenarios where your code shouldn't run. So my first test case is on a case with no secret information on it. I save and check to see no child cases have been created. Pass. Next scenario, I'm going to update this case to include secret information in its description. In this case, the customer's body weight. And this time, ouch, a giant red error message. There's so much going on in that error message that it really doesn't help me out. I do remember though that we use system.debug in our code every time a keyword match was found. Maybe we can check the debug log to see if it gives us any clues. To open up the debug log, click your name in the top right and Developer Console. On the bottom part of the console, there's a Logs tab. Anything you do in Salesforce while the Developer Console is open will generate a new log for you in real time. Keep an eye out on this part of the Developer Console. On the right, I'm going to resave our case to generate a new log. Just like magic, a log is generated. Let's open it up to see what happened. The log by default gives you a ton of information that'll be useful to you at some point in the future. For now, we just want to see the logs we specifically wrote. And to do that, we check the debug only checkbox. This is a complete list of all the logs we generated. Given the way we coded our debug log, we expect to only see one log if there's a secret keyword found. But immediately we see a ton of logs, which is very strange. It looks like the first log identified that a body weight keyword match was found. This looks right so far. But in all the other logs, a credit card keyword match was found. This is really weird now. We definitely didn't add any credit card information to our original case. Another look at our debug log shows us that the IDs of each case are different. You might be wondering, we only created one case. Why are there so many different cases in this log? This is a fascinating mystery that I recommend you try to solve on your own. If you want to, pause now before I give you the answer. All right, here's the answer. We know many cases are getting created, even though we only created one case. We also know that all of these cases have the word credit card in the description. The reason this is happening is because the child case we're creating in our trigger contains every sensitive keyword. Remember this line of code? And so, we're accidentally creating a child case that meets the criteria for creating another child case, which kicks off an infinite loop of creating child cases. Like I said, fascinating. So how do we actually solve this? We need some way in our trigger to ignore evaluating our child cases. There are many ways to do this, but one way is to skip cases that have the exact same subject as the child cases we create. In step 2, we evaluate our cases, so we can add an if statement here to ignore cases with our child case subject. Whenever you're coding the exact same thing twice as we do here, you're opening up potential errors in the future. If we change the child case subject one day, you'd have to remember to change this in 2 places in your code. To protect against this, let's create a child case subject variable instead, populate it with our subject, and update all references to point to this variable instead. The save passes, it's time to test. Back in Salesforce, let's resave our case that has body weight in the description. This time, we have a successful save, and it created an escalated child case with all the right properties. We'll do another test, this time with a different keyword, and again, it works. One final test. This time, we'll put 3 keywords in the same case. Thank you, it works. Keep repeating this as many times as you like until you feel you can sleep better at night. Right now, at this point, I consider our trigger complete in the scope of this course. But I know some of you out there are serial overachievers, And I want to give you a glimpse at one more optimization an advanced developer would do to improve this trigger. Consider it extra credit, a foreshadowing of what we'll learn in a future course. In fact, a technique that will take an entire course to learn. You don't need to know the details of this right now, but we're going to do what's called bulkifying this trigger. Basically using DML on a list of records instead of just one record at a time. Again, this is purely extra credit. You don't have to understand a lick of it. We'll go into deep detail on what this technique is and why we do it in an upcoming Apex Academy course.